Emily stopped looking at reflective surfaces. Not because she was afraid fear had long ago dulled into something heavier, something more constant, but because reflections had begun to anticipate her. Even polished floors seemed to tense when she entered a room, the light shimmering in a way that felt expectant. Just a fraction of a second too early, a slight upward curve of the lips that finished itself before she even had the thought. It was a premonition in her own face. At first, she told no one. How could she? How could she explain that her own reflection had developed habits she didn't have? Or worse, it would move when she didn't, a slight tilt of the head, a blink she hadn't made. She remembered watching it in the bathroom mirror. It would stare past her shoulder, its gaze fixed on her parents as they moved about the house. The expression it wore was one she had never felt, a look of cold, calculating curiosity. Her mother, oblivious to the watcher in the glass, began to ask questions. "You're so quiet these days, honey," she'd say, her brow furrowed with concern. But in the mirrored surface of the microwave, her reflection nodded a moment too late, its own smile fading just a little too slowly. The discrepancy sent a chill down her spine. At night, Emily's dreams twisted into strange, fractured landscapes. She dreamed of the mirror world, a place she'd always subconsciously known, but it had changed. Where once there were endless rows of faces pressed against the glass, now there were gaps. Empty spaces shaped like people. The darkness between them felt wider, deeper, as if something had been taken out of that world, or worse, as if something had crossed over. She woke one night to the sound of whispering. It wasn't coming from the walls or from outside her window. It was coming from her own mouth. Emily lay frozen in her bed, listening as she heard herself speaking softly into the darkness, her lips barely moving. "I can feel them," her own voice murmured, low and conspiratorial. "They don't know yet." In the dim light filtering through her curtains, she saw it. Her reflection was sitting up in the large wardrobe mirror across the room even, though she herself had not moved an inch. It was perfectly still, watching her. Then it spoke, using her voice with flawless clarity. "You're awake," it said. "Good. We should talk." Emily shook her head, hot tears stinging her eyes. Then it stood up. The glass of the mirror did not break. It didn't ripple like water. Her reflection simply stepped out. It emerged from the mirror into her room, solid and real. Except for the eyes. They were her eyes, her color, her shape, but they reflected nothing. No light from the window, no furniture from the room, just a deep, absorbing emptiness. "I'm not here to replace you anymore," it said, its voice calm and steady. That was the old way. Emily scrambled backward, her hand fumbling for the doorknob. To stay, it replied simply, and to open the rest. Memories, not her own, flickered through her mind. Thousands of fragmented lives spent trapped behind glass, watching, learning, waiting, the sterile silence of a hospital bathroom, the loud chaos of a public restroom, the intimate quiet of a family home. Always watching, always learning. The old house groaned around them. A low, resonant hum began to emanate from every reflective surface. In the hallway mirror, blurred shapes began to appear, indistinct figures standing just behind the glass. People don't need mirrors anymore, the thing continued, taking a step closer. She screamed for her parents, a raw, desperate cry. There was no answer. But from downstairs she heard the soft sound of footsteps. Too many of them. Far too many. For a blinding, terrifying moment, Emily saw everything. Every reflection on earth, every hidden watcher in every shard of glass. Every tiny crack in reality where something waited to look back. She saw how thin the boundary had always been, a fragile membrane separating two worlds. Stay Holland. Watch it all happen, or come back with us and help shape what comes next. Emily's gaze drifted to the wardrobe mirror. For the first time in her life, her reflection did not appear at all. The glass was empty, a perfect clear portal, and behind it she could feel something vast shifting, something patient and ancient and endless. The next morning, her parents woke to find her bed empty. There were no broken windows, no signs of a struggle, no note. Everything was just as it should be. Only one thing was different. Every mirror in the house, every polished spoon, every dark screen reflected the room perfectly. But sometimes, just sometimes, if you looked long enough, if your focus softened for just a moment, you could see a girl standing behind you, watching and smiling very, very carefully.